لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله.
قالوا يا أبانا ما لك لا تأمنا على يوسف وإنا له لناصحون أرسله معنا غدا يرتع ويلعب وإنا له لحافظون قال إني ليحزنني أن تذهبوا به وأخاف أن يأكله الذئب وأنتم عنه غافلون.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dearest brothers and sisters out there, you're watching the show Divine Stories, and we're going through and tracing back the very famous story of one special person, and that is Yusuf alayhi salam. The idea of this series is to narrate to you the stories of such epic people as they were related to us in the Quran. You see, many of us know the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, but how many of us have actually studied how Allah told the story in the Quran? Many of you may not even know that there's a whole chapter in the Quran named after Yusuf alayhi salam, Surah to Yusuf. And that surah is dedicated to talking about his story from beginning to end, which is something unique about this surah and the story that it contains. But one of the benefits of doing this and saying, you know what, we'll rely solely on what the Quran says and we'll try not to delve into what the historian said or what it says in other books such as the Torah or the Injil, is that not only do we get to hear the important parts of the story that Allah brought to our attention, but we can also safely say that those things that Allah didn't mention, well, they're not that important. For if they were really important, then for sure Allah would mention them. And in fact, kind of delving in and asking questions about the things that Allah never spoke about. For example, did Yusuf alayhi salam really marry that woman? Did they really live happily ever after? Well, that is something that Allah never mentioned in the surah, in the Quran, which kind of means that not only is it not really important, but more important than that is that knowing these kind of details may distract you from the actual lessons and morals that there are in this amazing story. So just bear that in mind, inshallah, as we journey through this surah. So where have we got to now? We've got to the part of the story where the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, out of a sense of envy, they say, you know, how comes that our brother ahabbu ila abina minna, how comes that he's more beloved to our father Yaqub alayhi salam than us, wa nahnu usba, whilst we are an usba. And I told you last time that usba means not just a sizable group, but a group that kind of has this gang mentality, comes from the root of asabiyya. So they really think a lot of themselves. They're kind of like tough guys, right? So they don't like the idea that the youngest of us, Yusuf, is so much more beloved to our father than the rest of us. Surely he should be loving us more than him. Now, that just wasn't a passing thought in their minds. They actually really thought and rethought about this, and it kind of frustrated them. They became envious of their younger brother, and they came up with a plan. What was their plan? Uqtulu Yusuf, one of them said in a huddle. And at that, the idea of killing Yusuf alayhi salam, the response came from another brother, which was, no, let's not kill him, rather let us throw him fi ghayabatil jub, into the bottom of a well. I mean, plan B isn't that much better than plan A, right? It's still going to leave him for dead. But this is how envy, got the better of them. It drove them to the point that they wanted to kill their own brother. Now, even though he's a half brother from another mother, he is still their brother. And secondly, he's their younger brother. Aren't you supposed to look after your younger siblings? Yes. And what about dad? How's that going to affect dad? Well, you know what? They were blinded to all of this. envy raged inside of them and it got the better of them. They forgot about all of this and they approached Dad. And this is where we got to the story, where they come to Dad and they say, قالوا يا أبانا ما لك لا تأمنا على يوسف وإنا له لناصحون. They come to Dad, all of them together, and they say, "Oh, our father, what is the matter with you that you don't trust us with regards to Yusuf alayhi salam?" I mean, being approached by all of your sons and then being told, "Why don't you trust us with this one of our brothers?" That's already something quite strange. That's already going to make you think, well, what are they coming up with here? What do they really mean here? Is there something fishy going on here? And then they go further. وَإِنَّا لَهُ, and indeed we are, particularly regarding this younger one of ours, لَنَاصِحُونَ, truly we just want good for him. We're just, well wishes for our brother. Really? Is that really the case? They're kind of giving away their real evil intentions, even in the way they're speaking. And Allah is bringing that to our attention. Look how the way they spoke to Dad. It's very sinister, very emotional too. So they say to Dad, أَرْسِلْهُ مَعَنَا غَدًا يَرْتَعْ وَيَلْعَبْ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. And they continue to try and twist Dad's arm emotionally. They say, "Dad, look, send him with us tomorrow because we're going to take him somewhere where yarta' comes from the root of mar'a, and mar'a refers to grassland, pasture." So what they're saying is that just like cows and sheep, they gobble up their grass and pastures outside, in the same way, Dad, we'll take him somewhere where he will eat loads of food. He'll really enjoy himself. He'll fill his belly with a feast. وَيَلْعَبْ, and besides taking him somewhere where he's going to enjoy himself eating and drinking, we'll also play games together. He'll have a really good time with us. وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. And regarding this one especially, we are hafidhun. We are, protectors. We will take care of him, Dad. Really, really take care of him. Now, of course, Yaqub alayhi salam, he's no fool. He knows already that these sons of his, they've got it in for the younger one. And they're very envious of him. That's why in the beginning he tells Yusuf alayhi salam, "La taqasus ru'yaka ala ikhwatika." Don't go and tell your brothers about your dream because فَيَكِيدُ لَكَ كَيْدًا, they will plot and scheme against you. So Dad knows that these sons of his, unfortunately, they're a bit messed up. But now he's put into a dilemma, if you like. All of my sons are now coming to me and they are emotionally trying to blackmail me, and the way they're talking, it's like they've already made up their minds that they want to do something bad to Yusuf alayhi salam. What shall I do? Allah relates to us his response. He says, قال إني ليحزنني أن تذهبوا به وأخاف أن يأكله الذئب وأنتم عنه غافلون. He says, you know what, sons, إني, indeed me, ليحزنني أن تذهبوا به. It really grieves me, the idea of you taking him away from me. So all from the very beginning, Yaqub makes it clear that, you know what, sons, the idea of you taking Yusuf out of my sight, that brings about huzn for me. That causes me grief. It's like Dad saying to you, you know what, son, if you do this, it's going to upset me. Now that should be enough, right? If you come to Dad and say, Dad, you know what, I'm really going to go out with my friends tonight, they want to go to the cinema, and Dad says, you know what, son, the idea of you going, that just upsets me. It will disappoint me if you do that. Now, if you're a good son, you'll say to Dad, you know what, fine, I won't do it. If it means that much to you, I'll stay behind. Now, Yaqub alayhi salam says that firstly. But then he goes further to give a second reason why. What is the second reason? وَأَخَافُ أَن يَأْكُلَهُ الذِّئْبُ. And secondly, I fear that the wolf may devour him. Now, putting that in context, they lived in the desert. They were living in Badu, which is the arid desert, out there in the middle of nowhere where, there's not many people, not many residents, not many houses, wildlife. And in Sham, where they were, which is modern day Syria, in Palestine, That's where they lived, in the middle of the desert. The wolves that used to creep around in that area were known to be very ferocious. And so dad is saying, look, the idea of you taking him, it upsets me. And I also fear that perhaps a wolf will devour him, وَأَنْتُمْ عَنْهُ غَافِلُونَ, and you will all be unaware of him. Meaning you'll go, you'll forget about him, you won't look after him properly, and you know what? A wolf will come and devour him. That, okay, is a second reason why I don't want him to go. Now, what do you think that the sons did in response? Do you think that they listened to dad? Do you think that they accepted dad's reasoning? No, they weren't going to listen whatsoever. But in the second part, we will discuss how Yaqub alayhi salam was trying to persuade his children to behave themselves. He could have said, there is no way that I'm going to let Yusuf alayhi salam go with you. I know what you guys are up to. I know you've got something evil planned, and you know what? It's not happening. He could have put his foot down. But as we'll see, Yaqub alayhi salam, begrudgingly, he lets Yusuf alayhi salam go. Now that could have been because he hoped for the best. He had a good assumption, husnul dhan, of his children, but it could have been for another reason. Okay, and inshallah, when we come back from the little break here, we will continue inshallah to discuss and explore this wonderful story more. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد. See you after the break. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
لا إله